Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about some simple engine bay modifications that you can make to make a huge difference in the way that it looks, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some things that I did to the engine bay in the Mustang, including one thing we're about to do today, which is super simple and super cheap. So let's go ahead and open this up. If you did not see the previous video, make sure to always cut towards yourself, kids. Just kidding, that's a really bad idea, but I'm stupid, so. But we, in the previous video, if you did not see it, talked about what is in this box. And don't worry, it is not super exciting. This razor blade's really sharp when I'm cutting the box instead of the tape. Okay, there we go. It's nothing crazy, but it is something that I think will spruce up the engine bay a little bit. So what we got here is, if you cannot tell already, we got some nice black coil pack covers. If you guys are not familiar with the Coyote 5.0 in the Mustangs, the stock coil pack covers are gray, and mine were kind of like stained, and there was a couple of what looked like burn marks from something on them. I tried to wrinkle coat them recently. I don't know if there was something wrong with the can of wrinkle black that I got, because normally wrinkle black is super easy to spray, but for some reason in this particular can, it's like the coating was just really uneven and was like impossible to get to spray cleanly. So I'll show you how that ended up, but we're gonna replace it with these nice Ford Performance coil pack covers that should look much better than what is in there currently. So let's go ahead and pop the Mustang hood, and we'll talk a little bit about the current coil pack covers and the general condition of under the hood of the Mustang right now. So if we look at the current coil pack covers on the car, you can see that they were wrinkle black coated. But there's a couple spots, particularly up towards the top of them, where like the wrinkle black just did not come out in a very even finish at all. And I just wasn't super happy with it, personally. I also redid the intake pipe, and you can kind of see the same thing on this. It's significantly more wrinkly, but there's just a few spots where it just came out super uneven, which is odd because, again, like I said before, painting wrinkle black is typically really easy because it kind of doesn't have to be perfect for it to look fairly decent. I'm not in love with this, but I haven't been super impressed with this intake in the first place, so I'm probably going to replace it anyway, so I'm not that disappointed about it. This side, you can see even more so just how the wrinkle black just did not come out quite like how I was wanting. So that, in comparison to these guys that are nice and smooth, and they should blend in pretty well with the valve covers on the Mustang, which are already like a black plastic that's nice and smooth. So we're gonna pop these off and show them to you together, and the before and after of how much better this is going to look with just these coil pack covers alone. I'm super OCD about a lot of things, so to me this is going to make a huge difference, so I'm definitely excited about it. So let's just go ahead and get these popped off. Which, to start doing that, need to take this PCV valve out, which they basically just unscrew. And mine is not currently attached to the intake because this is not the right tubing. This is not what would have come from the factory. Someone apparently replaced it at some point. So probably what I'm gonna end up doing in the future is just getting an oil catch can system that will ventilate to both sides and replace both of the PCV valve hoses that's on there right now. So I'll probably end up doing that in the future. For right now, this can vent to atmosphere. It's not gonna make a huge difference whether this vents to atmosphere or goes back into the intake. So let's go ahead and pop off the coil pack cover. This is incredibly simple and easy. They just pop right off. This is another thing, despite the fact that I tried to give these time to cure, you can see where one of those little hoses, I'm not entirely sure where that goes to off the top of my head, wore away the finish. I mean, I wasn't painting in really cold conditions or anything. I'm not sure why this finish came out so poor, but it did. So yeah, I'm not very impressed with the finish on this. It's just not very even. Because again, a difference in wrinkliness from one part to another is one thing, but when it looks so different like that, where it's like one part of it is almost smooth and the rest of it's wrinkly, it's kind of off-putting, not a huge fan. But on the back side, you can see the stock gray color. It's almost like a metallic-y sort of gray. And the difference from that in comparison to the new coil pack covers that are going on them right now. So let's grab the other one because that is the one for the other side. And we'll pop it on right now and see how it looks. So what you need to do is just pull off these little, basically rubber grommets that clip down and put them onto the new ones. This should be super easy, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. I'm just kind of poking these down through the holes that they're in, and it seems to be working. Got 2 out of 3 of them out of there. That is all 3 of them out of there, so let's go ahead and pop them into the new one, which, I mean, should be easy enough. All right, so that's all 3 of them in there, so now it should just snap right into place, essentially. It's super easy, like I said. There's no hardware or anything to keep track of. You just go around these couple of hoses here, get them vaguely into place. All right, that's on there. So we'll go ahead and put the PCV valve back on this side over here, which should just screw into place if I'm not mistaken. Once again, perfect. It's not gonna be perfect till we get that catch can set up, but definitely significantly better. Now let's do the same thing for the other side. Once again, other side off, no problem. Now let's go ahead and switch those grommets over. Okay, got those switched over. Let's go ahead and pop this on. All clipped into place. Clip that PCV valve back on and get our oil cap back on there. And that definitely looks much, much better. Take a sip of this sparkling apple Izzy to make me feel even better and accomplished. All right, if we go ahead and check out those coil pack covers, those definitely look way better than they did before. It just matches the other black plastic on the engine nicely, and everything just ties together pretty well. I think that does tie the engine bay together pretty well, and there'll be things we do in the future that definitely make it even nicer. And this is one of those things where if you're not like a huge perfectionist with your car in XYZ way, this might not necessarily make a huge difference to you. Maybe you wouldn't even have touched the coil pack covers in the first place like I did, attempting to do the not very successful wrinkle black that we did. But if you've done everything to your car and you're just trying to take your attention to detail to the next level up, something simple like this, as well as some other things that we'll discuss in a minute, is a really interesting way to, I guess it really adds an extra level of satisfaction to your car as the one who's building it. At least it does for me personally. So let's talk about some other small things that you can do, some of which I have done, or some that I plan to do here in the future. One other example of something incredibly small that could make a big difference in your eye, at least it did for me, is something that I have complained about before and I will complain about it again, which is the stock Ford engine oil cap. I think that this overall design and shape is super duper ugly. I don't love the big obvious letters on them personally. If you have changed your oil more than once, I would hope you would remember what your oil viscosity is, and you don't need to look at the cap. If not, look it up. And something simple like this nice MMR oil cap that is billet aluminum looks so much better to me than the stock Ford engine oil cap. And I will show you the difference of the two of them on the car to really get the point across about just how much better changing something small like this can make your opinion of your car. So this is the stock Ford engine oil cap, and maybe you don't mind it, but personally, I have never been a fan of these oil caps. I just don't like the shape. I don't know what the deal is with the half-hearted Batman logo-esque design. It just looks weird. I'm not a fan, so to me it makes a big difference when I go with something simple like this MMR oil cap. Again, the nice black really ties in together with the other black in the engine bay as well as the black on the car. And in my opinion, this just looks so much better, personally. And of course, it's supporting a company that does a lot of stuff for the community when it comes to Ford modifications, so I'm totally cool with it. And something else that I don't feel like gets enough representation when it comes to the aesthetic gain of the engine bay of a car is doing something like a cold air intake. Of course, there are potential performance benefits, but also if you're really trying to tie together the entire aesthetic of your engine bay, doing something like a cold air intake is a really good way to do that. Personally, I've never found the BBK intake to be the most aesthetically pleasing intake on the market, but there are a lot of really good looking options for this particular car, and I'm sure there is for whatever platform of vehicle that you own as well. Now, there are key differences that can make one cold air intake perform better than another that we will probably discuss in a separate video, but ultimately, as long as it's from a reputable company and is a generally decently well-designed cold air intake, it is just an air filter on some basic tubing. There's only so much that you can realistically do wrong with a cold air intake. So if you like how it looks and it has decent reviews about its performance and is of a generally decent design, well then you should be able to pick whatever you think realistically looks the best, and that can make a huge difference when it comes to engine bay aesthetics as well. And another one that can make a big difference when it comes to engine bay aesthetics is the strut tower brace. Obviously this one has the Mustang GT logo on it. It's a fairly nice looking strut tower brace, but there's a lot of different options for this car as well for getting some different strut tower braces that again can just really tie together the whole engine bay aesthetic. And in fact, there's also companies that make different kits that will replace all of the caps on everything, such as the windshield washer fluid reservoir or the coolant overflow tank, the brake fluid reservoir cap, whatever, all of these different things with nice billet aluminum or whatever, or different things that can really take your engine bay to the next level up, I suppose. Another example of something that you can do that can make a big difference in your engine bay is just getting unneeded crap out of it. And what I mean by that is there's some examples of when you buy a car where maybe from a previous owner or whatever has installed something in an engine bay that is just not needed, whether it just be something as simple as an unnecessary sticker or a modification that does not do anything to help the performance of the car that you don't think is helping the aesthetics either. Or in my case, this car had an unused alarm that was installed right about here when I bought it. I'll try and pull up a clip of video so that you can see what I'm talking about. And I just pulled that out recently, and something that small, just not having that dumb alarm that was just dangling over there for no reason, really makes a big difference in how this engine bay looks. It just looks cleaner. It just looks better taken care of. And in that same way, there's a lot of little things you can do to the general aesthetic of your car, engine bay included, that ultimately, if you're just worried about what it looks like to you or other people from, 20, 30, or even 10 feet away, it's probably not going to make a big difference. In my case, people that see me in traffic or whatever see my car, and even with its chipped up wheel paint or, swirly paint on the black or whatever, or different little chips or whatnot, or the slightly cracked front lip, typically people think that this is a really, really nice looking car. But it's when you get up close and when people really take a look at a car for a long time, when the small little aesthetic things can make a really big difference. I pointed this out before, but something even as small as cleaning up and painting like the chipped off paint on a windshield wiper or something like that. Having the attention to detail for things such as small as that is something that can really, really make your car stand out in a crowd against the others. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and the points that I had to bring out. We'll see more content on the Mustang in the future with a lot more in-depth things than just replacing coil pack covers, of course. But hopefully the point has gotten across. There's a lot of little small things that you can do to your car that don't necessarily cost that much money. For instance, these coil pack covers were, I think, $52 for the pair of them, something like that. The oil cap, I don't remember what it was off the top of my head, but it was also under $50. I think it was under $30 if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot of small things that you can do for not that much money that can really elevate your car to the next level up, and are things that with just a little bit of elbow grease or just a little bit of research can make a big difference. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please consider subscribing to the channel for more car content in the future, and I will see you guys all in the next one.